Hey everybody, it's the Devious Diva here. Hope you're having a great night. That was the theme song to a show that is beloved by many and certainly yours truly, and that is Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone. I did say earlier in the week that I would bring out a video of my favorite Twilight Zones. I have picked out 15 that I hope that you love as well, or you will also get a chance to check out if you have not seen it. Rod Serling is a true inspiration of sci-fi. He's someone who is successful with novels, short stories, Twilight Zone, and another series he did after called Night Gallery. Night Gallery was a great show. That one was in color. It was 40-something odd minutes long. The setting had him in a museum, and he'd walk in front of a portrait, which basically that picture was telling the story of the story that you're about to view. And I thought that was an interesting idea. They're basically like the Twilight Zone, just longer. It was not as successful. I want to say a few years after that he died. He was a very heavy smoker and he died in his 50s. And it's sad because he's definitely, someone that is an inspiration to me. And I thought that his work was pure genius. I thought The Twilight Zone was the best thing that he's ever done because I have read his work, which is brilliant, and I do think Night Gallery was a great attempt as a follow-up show to Twilight Zone. It just did not have the same success, although just like Twilight Zone, many famous stars fought to be on it because just like in our time, there's Tales from the Dark Side and my personal favorite, Tales from the Crypt. A lot of stars fought to be on the show because the writing is there. It's TV, but it's good TV, and as someone who loves movies, I hate TV shows with a dying passion. It's a show that I really enjoyed, so that's why I figured I had the time. We're supposed to get snow here in Rhode Island sometime after midnight, so I think that I'll be snowed in tomorrow, which I'm so excited. One thing about me that even though I love fall because of Halloween, although Halloween, as John had stated, is 365 days a year. In our home. I have made it that way. Just the way people love Christmas. For me, Halloween is Christmas. I love it each and every day. I love the movies. I love the music. And I never grow tired of it. If I'm not watching horror, then I'm really depressed and in a funk. And this month is actually challenging for me as a side note. My mother had passed away from cancer a few years ago. She was in her early 60s. She was only 61. She was my true inspiration and hero in life, and we were super close. We had the mother-daughter tumultuous relationship back and forth, but whenever someone says, that I'm cute or I'm pretty, I always say, well, that's because of my mom. She's 100 times more beautiful than me. She was beautiful inside and out. She was such a fun-loving person. She's really feisty and tough, and she doesn't back down from what she feels. She's not as shy, as reserved as I could be, but she has like this ballsy intensity that I love. She always kind of reminded me of the actress Bette Davis when watching that show Feud, because she's a straight shooter. She says what she thinks. She's not passive aggressive by any means. It's no holds barred, and you can't be offended by her language or otherwise. So that's kind of a sidetrack thing, but I love her to pieces, and tomorrow she would have turned 65, and she's just been my true inspiration. Hates horror though, hates sci-fi, so that's kind of a bummer. She's afraid of Chucky and all that kind of stuff. So that I get from my father. That's something that we share as a bond since I don't like sports, and as someone in New England, people love the Patriots. Don't care. Everybody loves Tom Brady. Don't like him. Don't care. So I'm kind of the odd person out in my family, and certainly in this area for that. But anyway, getting back to why you clicked on this video, if you did, thank you. And that's to talk about The Twilight Zone. So I'm going to talk about 15 best episodes. There were 5 seasons. Season 4 were an hour long, and my least favorite episodes, although many do love them, and I totally get it. We're here, we can agree, disagree, but I give a thumbs down. I don't want to spend an hour watching a TV show that I'm just bored to tears with, and I think that was a feeble attempt to extend on the series, and not a bad idea, but those were the worst episodes to me. And then season 5 had what I felt were the best episodes. I think they went out on a high note. But anyway, I digress. So number 1 out of 15 is from season 1, Episode 34, The After Hours. The premise for that episode, a young woman named Marcia decides to go to a department store. She is looking for a birthday gift for her mother, a gold thimble. She goes to a fictitious 13th floor that no employee has ever heard of, and she is sold a gold thimble there by a strange woman who later she sees there's a mannequin that looks just like this woman, and she sees that the gold thimble has a scratch on it. She wants to take the product back. When she talks to a manager, they say, there is no 13th floor. I don't know what you're talking about. We'd be happy to refund your money or replace it. But do you have a receipt? No. And, where did you get it from? She can't answer the question. So she's waiting to talk to someone about it. And she takes a nap, something like that. I kind of just do this from memory. And long story short, she ends up falling asleep. They shut down the store. They don't know that she's still there. She wakes up and it's dormant. Well, she ends up back at the 13th floor with that strange woman who she did see a mannequin of. And come to find out, to make the long story short, is that she herself, this woman Marcia, is a mannequin. And all of the mannequins in that store are alive. And each month on rotation, a person gets to leave, the mannequin that is, and go out into normal everyday life. After a month, they have to return, and the next person goes, and so on. And then you resume whatever stance you have, your arms like this, or if you're a bride, maybe like this, whatever that is, and you're back to going on display. So that's the moral of the episode, is that she has all these mannequins coming at her, and they're like, remember, Marcia, you have to remember who you are. And she has no idea, and she's terrified, and come to find out she is a mannequin. And so there really was, I thought that was odd. She's only been out in the world a month, so what mother could she possibly have that she has to get a gift for? That being said, even though I can be a stickler and I think of these little things, it's a great episode in season 1. There's a lot in season 1 that people like. That is the only one on my list of 15 episodes from season 1 that I recommend, and that's my favorite, The After Hours. Number 2, season 2, episode 4, A Thing About Machines. That episode, some people know, some people don't. I want to say this one's a little bit more on the obscure side, but certainly if you're a Twilight Zone fan like I am, also I have the tradition that I watch that on Sci-Fi every New Year's Eve. So I do the quintessential Chinese food dinner and I binge watch it. But I can watch Twilight Zone anytime I want. I'm obsessed. I have all of the seasons. And I watch it like nonstop. Anyway, A Thing About Machines in season 2. In that episode, the premise, a guy named Finchley declares, I don't want to say war, but a verbal war on machines. Doesn't like his car, doesn't like radio, TV, anything. He condemns it. He thinks there's no point in it. Well, the twist is, because he's in the Twilight Zone, the machines go against him. So his electric shaver, his car, which will cause his demise, television, all declare war on him and torment him and come after him. And I think that one's a pretty funny episode. It's, all of them are silly. These were filmed in the late 50s, early 60s. So, of course, the plot lines aren't very intricate and all of that, but it's a funny episode. I thought it was a great premise. Technology comes after you, especially living in 2022 where technology is supposed to be our best friend, but you know what? It's such a pain in the ass. And I can say that the older I get, the more I'm set in my ways. When people started text messaging, I hated it until I figured out, when talking to my mom and dad in particular, I like texting because I can be like, I'm busy right now, so I'll get right back to you. I don't have to react right away. But this is a world filled with technology, and it's something that I fight against. So I thought that episode rings true even today for some people who are resistant and are looking for the old school ways. I certainly do miss those days. Okay, again, season 2, my third pick is episode 5, The Howling Man. This one a lot of people know. I'm part of the Twilight Zone fan group on Facebook, and people do not like this episode as a whole in the general populace. The premise is that a young man is, he's out in a storm and he needs to find refuge and he wants to seek shelter at a local monastery where these gentlemen are. I don't I just don't know the name of what they're called. They're not priests, so I don't know what the word would be. But I just call them, holy guys with a staff in a monastery place. And I've said this often. I don't know why, but I do my own rabbit trails. For people who don't know, because I say things in such a way, I don't talk about it much, but I'm always proud of everything that I am. I am, in fact, a Christian. I've attended many churches. I've decided organized religion doesn't suit my needs, but I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in all of that. I don't impose my views, and I don't go against someone else's views, because I believe in respect and agree to disagree, and we all come from different places and different backgrounds and a different way of thinking, and I respect that. But I'm kind of an enigma to people, because on the one hand, I'm a Christian. Like Tammy Faye is a hero for me. On the other hand, I love Halloween and everything guts and gore, which a lot of Christians condemn as part of the occult. So that's a tough one. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, as far as that goes. But I am a faith-based person. I just honestly don't remember what these guys, blah, 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 can't speak, are referred to in the episode. So I just know that they're kind of like a priest. They're holy men that run this monastery. And this young man goes there seeking refuge because it's a stormy night, and they don't want him there. They want to send him away. And they're hiding something, and they do have a prisoner there. And the prisoner there seems like a harmless, timid man who is encapsulated in a prison. I just can't speak tonight, but I'm not doing a redo. I like to be natural on these things. So this guy is stuck in a prison. He's seemingly nice. He pleads with this guy who's there trying to seek refuge to let him out. He's saying, these guys here are nuts. They have me captive for no reason. They're the ones that are unjust and ungodly. Who would leave someone in a prison like this and starve them? And he feels bad. And they do agree to let him stay as long as he stays away from the prisoner. But he does go and beseech these holy men, and he says to them, why are you keeping him here like this? I'm going to tell the authorities. I'm going to tell people about this, because this isn't right, which is understandable. And then they explain, okay, this is eccentric, it sounds crazy, but he is the devil himself. And of course, this guy does not believe that for a second. And they try to tell him, do not let him out. They have this staff that keeps that prison door closed. It's the staff of truth, I believe they refer to it as. Ultimately, I'm sure you know where this will lead to. He lets the guy out. Come to find out, this guy is the devil. And as soon as he gets out of the prison, he starts walking past these long columns. And each time he goes past a column, he starts to change little by little. So past one column, he's got a cape, he's got horns, and he's just morphing into the devil, and he takes off. And the guy sorely regrets it. Well, at the end of the episode, he has spent years hunting down the devil. He's caught him. He has him in a closet in his apartment, and he tells his maid, do not open this door under any circumstances, much like he was warned not to. What does he do? He opens the door. He opens the door. She opens the door. Just mush brain today. So again, here we go again. Someone has caught the devil, and the devil is let loose. So that's the Howling Man. 4th out of 15, season 2, episode 6 is Eye of the Beholder. This one a lot of people know. It's the pig nose episode. Donna Douglas, who portrayed Ellie Mae on the original Beverly Hillbillies, who's a gorgeous blonde, in my opinion. Beautiful woman, beautiful actress. She was so cutesy and fun-spirited on the Beverly Hillbillies. Great show. I have family from the South, and I don't find it offensive or demeaning. I think it's kind of cute, She has her little critters at the cement pond. Anyway, in this episode, she is bandaged up. She has had a serious operation. She's in the hospital, and it's dark. You can't see. You only see the back of the heads of the nurses, the doctors, the staff. You can't see their faces, just the voices. And you just see this woman who's bandaged up, who's had a surgery. And she's talking about how when are the bandages going to come off, and she's anxious to see if this plastic surgery has taken. And they do explain to her, this is the last time that we can do this. And it's a pretty serious thing. because whatever these people look like, she wants to look like them. And if this surgery is not successful for her, she is going to be sent off to a special colony or place for people who are deformed and look like her. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder. That's kind of the whole idea of this story, because the bandages come off and you see this beautiful girl and you're thinking, I don't know what she looked like before, but it was a success. She looks great. But then you see the doctor, the nurses, the staff, you see the television and the actors on it. They all have pig noses. It's a futuristic society, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder. This society, they all have pig noses. So that's what's attractive. And she's the outcast. She's ugly. They're frightened by her look because this is what they know to be beautiful and normal, is these pig noses. And it's kind of funny, and she's running around the hospital because she doesn't want to have to be taken away, and she's afraid of this man who's normal looking like her. And eventually she succumbs to it, and she just kind of gives in, and she says, okay, I'll go with you. And that's the whole moral of the story, is that it's a beautiful woman in a futuristic society who wants to have a pig nose. It fails horribly, and she's going to go have to live with the other outcasts somewhere else. And that's a beloved episode. I thought it was pretty funny when I was a kid and I saw that, and I thought it was an interesting idea. And it is so true. You know, if we were all born with 3 legs or 4 eyes, that is what beauty would be to us, because we don't know it any other way. What we see as beautiful, which I sometimes condemn because I do think that today there's pressure where women have to look a certain way, even guys too have to look a certain way. And we're pressurized into a certain way or certain mold of what's beautiful. A perfect example of that is people looking like a Barbie doll, feeling like they have to be blonde and voluptuous and all of this. And it's just not true. It's really how you want to see it. You know, beauty is beauty in whatever lens you see it through. And there's a lot of beautiful people, and there's no conventional way to look for that. So that's a beloved favorite. Number 5, season 2, episode 7, Nick of Time. This is one of 2 Shatner episodes I like. The other one I'll talk about, which is the more popular. Nick of Time, William Shatner and his girlfriend are visiting a local town, and they decide that they're going to stop off into this little diner. In this diner, at their table, is this little machine. It tells fortunes, kind of like a fortune cookie. It has a little devil bobblehead on it, which is pretty goofy. And so you put the nickel, the diamond, whatever that is, and it gives you an ambiguous fortune. So if you say something like, am I going to have a good day? It will say, depends on your point of view. And now it's addicting. You put in some more change and you ask another question, and it's more ambiguity. You know, it's more of, well, you know, just the same thing. It depends if you go left, or the decision is up to you. And William Shatner is now addicted to playing with this machine. He's consumed. And the episode is just about him going on and on with it. And finally, him and his girlfriend get away from it. And at the end of the episode, a couple sits down that had been addicted to this machine, and they're going back to it, asking more questions. And to me, it's one of those innovative episodes that's probably good for, you know, Gamblers Anonymous, where people are sometimes so obsessed with something, they're so addicted to something that gives no rhyme or reason, and you're searching for an answer that you're never going to get. And so that was a fun episode. I really liked that, and I think that one's a little obscure as well. Number 6, season 2, episode 17, 22. This one reminded me of Final Destination. A young woman who is an actress has had a nervous breakdown. She's staying in the hospital. She has visions or dreams or night walking encounters in which every night she breaks a glass. It's events that happen in succession. But at any rate, she wakes up and she breaks a glass. She goes down to the hospital morgue. It's dormant and quiet, as it would be late at night like that and in that particular area. And a strange-looking nurse comes out and says to her, "Room for one more, honey." And this happens night after night, and she tells this to the doctor, to her agent, and they think, you know, she's had a nervous breakdown, she's under stress, she's just having bad dreams. It's just a reaction to all of the tremendous stress that she's dealing with. Eventually, she's cleared to leave the hospital. Well, why I say it's like Final Destination is that she gets ready to go on her flight. She goes up to the plane. The flight attendant is that same nurse that she saw reoccurring in her vision or dream from the morgue. Same woman saying, "Room for one more, honey." She runs away in terror. Well, she decides not to get on that plane. The plane explodes. Boom. She would have been dead. It reminds me of Final Destination, where people have these visions of what could happen to them. And the events, the decisions you make will decide whether your fate is to die or not, and you can try to cheat death. So I thought 22 was a lot like Final Destination. I think Rod Serling, ahead of his time with a lot of that stuff. He also does one that is not on my list of favorites, that is like the movie Steel or Real Steel. He does a lot of things that people later, Don Mancini, as I said, Child's Play, Talkie Tina, which is one of my favorites on here, is the inspiration for him doing Chucky, this malevolent doll that can talk. He did a lot of things that are the first fruits for what later becomes part of horror movies and pop culture as we know it. Okay, so my number 7 favorite in season 2, episode 28, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? This one is an episode that I would say people do know. I actually have the figurine. The guy that works as the cook behind the counter at this diner in the episode, I have his figurine. And if you know the episode, then you know that he's the guy with 3 eyes. Basically in this episode, just to set it up, remembering that in the 50s in particular, it was a time period where people were very interested in UFOs and seeing if there was life on other planets. And this is a show, this particular episode sort of reflects that idea. These 2 cops see that there is a spaceship that landed and no one's in it. And it's a very stormy, snowy night, much like tomorrow will be. I'm so excited. I love winter. I love the snow. It's going to be great. Anyway, I digress. So they go to this diner and they're asking questions. There's a group of 6 or 7 civilians there, and they're just hunkering down until the storm lets up and they can get back on a bus. They have a bus driver, it's one of those traveling buses taking them wherever it is they're going to go. There's a bridge that needs to be repaired and it's a big storm. So they're just hanging out. And the 2 cops go in and start questioning the owner that runs the place and all of the people, saying, how many people got on the bus? We're trying to figure out, about a UFO. Are one of you an alien, essentially, is what these cops want to know. And of course, all the people deny that. One of them is an alien, of course. And there's a jukebox, it's playing on and off, the lights are flickering on and off, the salt, sugar containers are getting flipped over. Someone has power, someone there is an alien. And if you think about it and you watch it, there's an obvious answer as to who it is. At the end of the episode, you get the revelation because basically the cops have to stop what they're doing and let everyone go because no one's going to admit to being an alien. They can't prove anything. They're spinning their wheels. They're wasting time. And the people are free to go. So later, the cook and owner of the diner is hanging out by himself. One of those suspects comes in and reveals himself to be that alien. And he has 3 arms. And then the guy behind the counter reveals, as he takes his little cook's hat off, that he has 3 eyes. So there are 2 aliens in the episode. It's an awesome episode. It's one of those, you try to figure out who's the alien. There's 2 of them, so that's the part you wouldn't know. But it's a pretty awesome episode. I like it. Moving on, season 3. So this is my 8th pick out of 15, season 3, episode 8, It's a Good Life. That was a fun episode to me. It stars Billy Mumy, and people might know him from a show that was popular in the 60s, Lost in Space. He was the beloved Will Robinson. It's a family that goes to different planets. They're traveling kind of like Star Trek, but it's a family, a mother, father, their children, a psychiatrist, and a robot. And Will Robinson is always hanging out on planets and trying to meet new people, new aliens, and find new encounters. And people always remember the line because he hangs out with this robot that flails around and says, "Danger, danger, Will Robinson." So people who know that, that's who this kid or this actor is. He's got red hair and freckles. He's very precocious. And he plays little Anthony in this episode. This episode, there are people isolated to living in a town called Peaksville, Ohio. It seems it's the only place left in America around because this little boy has extraordinary power. He has telekinesis, so he can move things with his mind. He can make things appear. He can read your mind. He basically just runs the entire town and the entire earth with his extreme power. And he has basically taken out all of civilization other than his parents and the people remaining in the town. He's gotten rid of a lot of their foods and clothing and a lot of the things that they depend on. And the booze, which is just, that's alcohol abuse. That's awful. He's such a little bastard. But anyway, so these people, these adults, are subservient to him because he knows your thoughts. So it's not like you can just go and choke him out, because if in your thoughts you're like, I'm getting ready to choke him, getting ready to stab him, he knows what you're thinking. So at all times they have a front. They smile. They act nice to him. They're like, it's a great day. It's 100 degrees and it's sweltering, but it's just a fine day. Mighty fine. What can I do for you, Anthony? And they smile and they do this like drones, because if they don't, he can turn you into a jack-in-the-box and put you in a cornfield, which is what he does to one guy. And there is a point where the climax is that, this guy who ends up becoming wished into the cornfield says, somebody knock him over the head with something. We need to get rid of this kid. We have to kill him. If we don't kill him, then we'll cease to exist. He's already taken our livelihood. He's killed off the planet, basically. Let's put an end to this. But everyone kind of doubles down on it, including his parents, who really want him dead as well. And life goes on with him ruling the earth. So it's an interesting premise. I mean, what a nightmare, right? Kids are cute, but imagine if this little kid just decided that they can kill you, or not just decided, they just have the power to. They know your thoughts, and they can control what you eat and what you do for activities, and you have to kiss their ass. I've always said I'm not a yes person. If my life was kissing someone's ass, forget it, I'd be dead. So that's a funny one. My 9th favorite, season 3, episode 33, The Dummy. In that episode, a ventriloquist has a huge drinking problem, and it's hard for him to separate reality from fantasy. He is a very gifted man. He's a great ventriloquist. He has a great little act, and he's really funny with his dummy, but he feels that his dummy speaks to him. He tells his agent about it. He's really freaked out, but he's constantly drunk, so people really question the wisdom of his mental health, that it's just too much to have this duality. And throughout the episode, you struggle to wonder, as the dummy is tormenting him throughout and laughing at him, and you hear the voices, is he real? Is he fake? I can only say that I would surmise my educated guess. In this case, it's alcoholism. It's a delusion. The dummy is not real. His personality is just starting to split. He's cracking up. That being said, it's a pretty good ending, and this is the part that makes me question the wisdom. And anybody who knows these shows, if you have the answer, please let me know, because I don't know. At the end, you see that an act is going to come out onto the stage, a ventriloquist and a dummy, but it's all reversed. So the ventriloquist is now a dummy, and the dummy looks just like him, has the same face and likeness. And the ventriloquist has the dummy's face. It's a guy who's just dressed up to look like him. So it's interesting because it flips at the end, and it makes one wonder, was he real? But I would probably chalk it up to alcoholism. Great episode, by the way. Let's see, trying to get through this. 10th favorite, season 5, episode 3, starring William Shatner once again, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. That is an infamous episode. There was a Twilight Zone movie, and that is one of the segments featured in it. I think that one was a little better. I think that the creature on the plane was a little more believable, if you can be believable. And so that was a favorite, but I don't talk too much about that. But the Twilight Zone movie, though not as good as the TV show, that's definitely something to check out. That being said, that episode, William Shatner is a guy who did have a mental breakdown. He is now leaving the mental hospital, and he and his wife are getting on a plane to go back home to wherever they live. And he sees, whenever his wife is not looking, and none of the crew or anyone see this, but he sees a creature on the wing of the plane that is tormenting him And this creature is dismantling the plane, and he's having a real panic and fear of it. And he knows people think he's crazy, but he tries to tell his wife and the pilot, and they just want to put him to sleep, give him a sleeping pill. He doesn't want to take it. And the whole episode, this creature is tormenting him, and he's just trying to convince people. At the end of the episode, it looks as though he will be going back to the mental institution. That being said, he's talking to his wife, and he's just happy that the flight is over and that they're still alive. But, people feel it's a mental breakdown, so he needs to go back. And you look over at the wing of the plane, and it is damaged. So he did, in fact, see a creature on that plane. It's a really good episode. It's a lot of fun. It's not so fun when I'm just saying it, but it's really fun. Okay, my 11th favorite, almost done. Season 5, episode 6, it is called Living Doll. That is the one that shows infamous Talkie Tina. In that episode, a stepfather is not too happy to have a stepdaughter. He recently got married to this woman who has a little girl named Christy or Christina. They can't have children. The wife comes home with the daughter, and she's got a little doll called Talkie Tina who says sweet things like, "Hi, I'm Talkie Tina, and I love you very much." And he's not thrilled with the doll. He's worried about the cost. He feels that it's an implication about how he and his wife can't have kids. So since this child can't have a sibling, this is the best substitute. And he's very snippy and rude and just very cold and unkind to the little girl. Well, in the episode, the doll reveals herself to be alive to this man when the mother and daughter are not around, although this doll does talk to the daughter alone, but never to the mother/wife. And Talkie Tina says, "I'm beginning to hate you." And the doll even calls and says, "I'm going to kill you." He gets Talkie Tina. He's trying to burn her. He's trying to put her in a vice grip and squish her. And she's like, hee hee hee. And she just loves that he's trying to kill her and torture her. But how do you kill a doll that's alive? It's just not possible. And at the end of the episode, he hears a strange noise in the middle of the night. It's the doll on the stairs. He trips over the doll, comes tumbling down the stairs, dies. The wife comes down the stairs. She's horrified to see that her husband is dead. And the doll says, "I'm Talkie Tina, and you'd better be nice to me." And she's just looking at the doll in her hand, and she drops it in terror. This episode, like I said, is how, and you can read it anywhere, it's not out of the sky, that this is where Don Mancini gets the idea for Child's Play. And it's a great idea, and nobody had really done something extensive in a movie. And yes, Chucky is different. I've talked about liking Chucky and the Chucky TV series and Bride of Chucky. I love Tiffany. That being said, this episode is definitely what gave him the idea and inspiration for it. He did make it his own, but this is a great episode. People have fought in many auctions for the actual original doll and any duplicates. People really love Talkie Tina, and I do too. I wish I had her. I would just send her on her way to terrorize anybody and everybody that opposes me, for sure. My 12th favorite, season 5, episode 17, number 12, Looks Just Like You. This is an obscure one, and I don't think a lot of people know it. I think it's underrated. It's not a huge plot line. The story, kind of like the Pig Nose one, on that same idea, sort of. It's a futuristic society. There's a very pretty girl, her name's Marilyn, and her mother is pressuring her because in this society, when you turn the age of 18, it's time for you to have plastic surgery. They change your face, your body, everything, and it's a requirement of life. And for women, there's a couple of models you can choose from, same for men. So all the men and women look the same. It's the same actors playing different parts, and they wear name tags. So you know this one's Nancy, and this one's Bridget, and this one's Steve, and this one's John, because how are you going to tell them apart? They all look the same, and she doesn't want to do it. She decides, you know what, if I'm ugly, but at least I'm unique. You know, I look like me. I don't look like somebody else. And she fights it, and they finally get a hold of her, and they give her the plastic surgery, and she has it, and then she comes out blissfully happy, looking like everybody else. It's an episode that really teaches you about beauty being in the eye of the beholder, that it's important to have your individuality, that you shouldn't sell yourself short, that you shouldn't decide you have to look a certain way to appease people and be beautiful. Yeah, there's like that kind of cheesy message going on there, but it's a good episode. It's underrated and not everybody knows it. Season 5 is a favorite. Okay, what are we on here? 13, so almost done. Season 5, episode 19, Night Call. Some people know it, some don't. The premise is an elderly woman. She lives alone at home. She's crippled. She has a maid that takes care of her full time. She starts getting phone calls from a man beyond the grave, a man who is her boyfriend who passed away, and she is so freaked out. She tries to find answers to what is going on, and it is revealed when she travels with her maid to her boyfriend's grave who had passed away that there is a telephone wire there, and he's been calling her from the grave. So that one is kind of suspenseful. It's fun. Like, that's the ending, but you kind of have to see the whole episode for the context of it. But it's interesting because she's freaked out to get these phone calls randomly late at night. That is her boyfriend, Brian, and she's trying to figure out how in the hell is he talking to her. And somehow he has a telephone in the grave, which is so goofy, but it's kind of cute. It's cutesy. Kind of like just like old people in love type of thing. My 14th favorite, season 5, episode 25. This is a beloved episode by many, and certainly for me, The Masks. It is great. It is a great getting revenge episode. The premise, an old man named Jason is going to be dying. And his snake-like daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren, so grandson, granddaughter, they travel from Boston to Louisiana during Mardi Gras to visit him. And he's on his deathbed. He's going to die anytime now, and that's why they're there. They're there to take everything that he's worked so hard for, because he's a very wealthy man, and they want that money. So they pretend they're there for him, but they're asking the doctor, so is he dying soon? How's he doing? And he knows this about them. So he's got a nice little treat in store for them. He says to them, I want to get some rest. Later we're going to have a nice dinner, and then we're going to have a little party, like a little masquerade party. And they're okay with that because they want to appease him. They need his money. So after dinner, they gather into the living room, and he shows them that he has these interesting masks, and they're hideous and grotesque. And each one is appointed a mask that's supposed to be the antithesis of what they are. But in truth, it's exactly what they are. So if it looks, in the case of his daughter, like an ugly old crow and a witch, that's what she is. The mask is showing what you are on the inside, and they are ugly, evil people. And he puts on a mask as well. It's a skeleton. It represents death. And he says, because I'm alive. So see, it's the opposite. Death, I'm alive. They have to wear these masks until midnight. If they take off the mask before then, they receive nothing except their train fare home to Boston. So they appease him, indulge him, they do it. It's close to midnight. They're going crazy, having these masks on for several hours. And they say, we want to take them off. And he says to them, he beseeches his loved ones, and he says, is there nothing you want to say to me? I'm dying. And you want to tell me that you love me, that you care about me, just anything. And all they care about is getting that mask off, and how he's being so cruel to make them wear it. Well, he passes on, and they're so happy. Hooray, let's get the mask off. They take the masks off. Those hideous images, that mask was engraved in their face. It was a mold of the mold of the mask, I should say. It's molding their face. Now their face is permanently disfigured and is the image of the mask they were wearing. So it's almost, like when you take a clay impression, you wear the mask, you take it off, now your face looks like that. They're hideously deformed. So yes, hooray, they have all this money, but the joke's on them. There's not enough plastic surgery to fix how hideous they look. What an awesome prank on such evil people. For the rest of their lives, I don't care how much money you have, you're not going to be happy. People have that vanity. They're hideous looking. And they take his mask off, and he just looks normal. So his mask was just a normal one. But that's what he did as a joke. So now they have to look deformed for the rest of their lives with all that money. And that was a great episode. I loved that. That was an awesome ending and a great way to get revenge. The last one, number 15 of favorites, season 5, episode 28. This one is called Caesar and Me. It's an episode, once again, about a dummy and a ventriloquist. This is one people don't know as well, and a lot of people don't like it in the fan group because I brought it up and I was like, well, I don't care. You know, to each his own, but I love it. So Caesar is the dummy. The ventriloquist's name is Jonathan. He's an Irish immigrant. He came to the country to seek fortune and fame, but he's having trouble with that. He can't pay his rent. He's starving. He's not getting any acts. He's not getting booked for anything. He looks for honest work, like janitorial, any type of work he can get just to pay the bills. And nobody will hire him because he has no experience other than to be a ventriloquist and do puppeteering. And he's down and out. His dummy Caesar is very much alive and says to him, you know what? This is America. You've got to think big. You can't think penny ante and live penny ante. You know, the streets are paved with gold. The sky is the limit. So we're going to start robbing places. And that's what they do. And at first, Jonathan feels good about it because he's eating, he's paying his rent. He has a sense of security, but he is afraid. And Caesar assures him, I'm your alibi. If the police come by and say anything, he believes the dummy. Well, at the end, he gets caught. The police ask him about his alibi. He wants Caesar to talk on his behalf. The dummy's not going to talk. You know, he's just going to leave him hanging. Jonathan gets hauled off to jail, and there's a little girl that lives in the apartment building, and Caesar moves on to her. He's got the money that Jonathan got from stealing from all these places, and he decides he's going to manipulate the little girl, and that's how the episode ends. It's a really funny episode. I think it's got humor. It's a little sad. You know, this stupid dummy screwing over this really nice man that's just struggling in the world. But I thought it was funny. He's like pimped out with his, you know, gangster outfit that is the dummy. He's got like a silk tie. He's got like the hat with a feather. Very fancy, like little like diamond pin on his tie. It's pretty goofy. They have the dummy on a track so he can like pace back and forth when he talks to the guy. That's number 15. So this is a very long-winded episode, but I thought it would be fun to just share with you my favorite Twilight Zone episodes. I would love to hear comments, questions, or what are your favorite episodes or other shows that you like that are similar, like Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, like Night Gallery. So I'm always interested in your feedback. I just thought it'd be fun while I had the time to hang out and talk with all of you before the big storm. I can't wait. I hope we're snowed in like The Shining. I don't want to go crazy like that, although it does look like fun. Jack Nicholson makes that look fun. He really, really does. But I love winter. I love snow. I can't wait for this marshmallow world. I hope you guys are having a great night. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be talking to you very soon. Mwah. Bye-bye.